Okay, everybody, my name is Michael Randolph, and this is what is part of what we call our CEO training. Last week, we went over a statement of the problem. What we learned last week was that in order to be able to solve a situation, you have to understand the problem. And understanding the problem, that means that you have to do two types of research primarily. One is called quantitative research. Some people call it hard data. Quantitative research is when you look at the why, the what, the why, and the how many. For example, if you're doing a research project on why do they kill each other, then you have to Google, first of all, how many people are killing each other. And second, you have to do another Google search to show why they kill each other. And normally when you do that search related to why they kill each other, different schools of thoughts are going to come up. Anywhere from think tanks, from universities, from different types of people will tell you why they think the reason why that person does what they does. That's called quantitative research. We're going to talk a lot about that as we go through the different weeks. That's always going to come back. The other type of research is called qualitative research. In qualitative research, we try to get the solution to the problem by asking the person themselves what the problem is, the very people that are affected by the problem. And qualitative research, we can do focus groups in which we bring people out and we ask questions. We can do interviews. We can do surveys. We can do a number of things, but it's normally on the personal level, the subjective level. Now, when you combine the two together, you truly have a statement of the problem. Quantitative research and qualitative research. Keep those two terms in your mind as we proceed with the weeks that's coming up. So, last week, again, we went over a statement of the problem. This week, we have to talk about, well, how do we solve the problem? And we solve the problem by doing what we call critical thinking. And doing critical thinking, you identify what is your vision, what is your mission, what is your strategies, what is your goals, and what are your objectives. So let's see what they're talking about. Okay, here's a chart that summarizes everything we're about to talk about. Notice the mission is the means of how you're going to do something. Later on in this presentation, we'll give a definition of what a mission is. The vision is the end result you plan to bring about. Later on, we're going to talk about what a vision is. When we look at this chart, we see combined with your vision and your mission, you talk about your strategy, your tactics, your goals, and your objectives. Now, let's take it apart. So what is a vision statement? Well, a vision statement talks about what you want the future to look like in the future. That's what a vision statement is. For example, I'll give you a good example. Can you think of a person, an individual that had a good vision statement? Hello?
All right, here, Metropolitan's vision statement is awesome.
But let me tell you something more. Dr. King.
Right.
When Dr. King said that he's looking for a world where there's no prejudice, where there's no pain, that's what he meant. That was his vision statement. The vision statement was based on what was going on in the world. We know back then that people couldn't eat in the restaurant, they couldn't go to schools, all these different things. So the vision statement is always about what the future look like. And true, Metropolitan Vision, Metropolitan Ministry, they have their vision, everybody has a vision. But I always use Dr. King vision because that's the one everybody can identify. And that makes that the money say, oh yeah, the vision is here's the problem, and the vision is, here's how we want to solve the problem. For example, your vision statement might be a world where no one is part of the, what we call it, the
Recidivism.
recidivism. That's what I was looking for, right? So that would be your vision statement. A world where there is no recidivism. Okay, so that being the case, make sure you understand that your vision statement needs to articulate what your organization vision is. And this is important. It should be, and if possible, a sentence or two. The thing I want to emphasize here is that it talks about what the community looks like in the future. And
Okay.
that's the vision. The vision is the broader picture. My vision is a world where nonprofits have the tools necessary to be effective in serving their clientele. So the vision is always the way you want it to look. Because we know right now, the way the world looks now, a lot of nonprofits are failing because they're not getting the proper training.
Right.
Once you identify your vision, now you need to talk about, no, let's stay in vision. We're gonna give a little bit more information about vision. Hold on one second, my screen is went off. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about vision. And here's some examples of vision statements. For example, understand, understood, and shared by members of the community. It's broad enough to include a variety of local perspectives. It inspires and it's uplifting. That's probably one of the most important things about a vision statement. It has to inspire people and it has to uplift people. And it has to be easily communicated. Like, for example, it has to be short enough to put on a t-shirt. Because you know,
Okay.
the way you do, and we call it advertising. And when you're advertising something, you want to make it as short as possible. Like when you're doing a little ink pen, you want to make sure it's small enough to get on the ink pen, or when you're doing a t-shirt, small enough for a t-shirt. Now,
All right.
example of some vision statement. Well, a caring community, healthy children, safe streets, safe neighborhoods, every house a home, education for all, peace on earth. What's consistent with all of these vision statements is they short enough to put on a shirt. All right, now that we know what the vision statement is, and the vision statement talk about the broad thing of what you want to do, the next step is to talk about the mission statement. The mission statement is going to talk about how you plan to bring about the vision. Now, mission statements are similar to a vision statement in that they look at the big picture. However, and this is very important, they do so more from a concrete perspective, and they are more action oriented than the vision statement. Now, this is important. Your vision statement should inspire people to dream. Your mission statement should inspire them to act. The mission statement might be referred to a problem such as inadequate housing. Now, mission statements are outcome oriented. Mission statements explain the fundamental outcome of your organization and working with to achieve inclusiveness. Now, as we move forward in the class, we're going to be working on you drafting your own vision, your own mission statement, your goals, and your objective. Today's class is just talking about what is the broader picture as we begin to start to take from what we learned in class and put it to paper. Okay, next. So let's talk about some examples of mission statement. For example, promoting child's health and development through a comprehensive family and community initiative. Another mission statement might be to create a thriving Black African-American community through the development of job, education, housing, and cultural pride. Another might be to develop a safe and healthy neighborhood through collaborative planning, community action, and policy advocacy. Now, once you identify your vision and your mission, now you have to come down to the goal. Now, keep in mind, it starts with the vision, then the mission, and then the goal. Let's talk about goals. Well, let's talk about goals. A goal is really a statement about the final outcome you plan to bring about. Goals should specify the results of the program. And talk about the bigger picture. Okay, so goals should specify the results of the program service. What is it that you plan to bring about? And it should be in terms of smart, or smarter. A goal should be, when we say smarter, a goal should be specific. Exactly what is it that you're talking about? It should be measurable. How many are you talking about? And it should be acceptable to those that are working on it. Our goal should be realistic. It should talk about things being done in a timely manner. And it should talk about how you plan to bring about the end result. Let's look at a goal. Remember, we talk about it has to be specific and it has to be measurable. Let's see if this particular statement lives up to it. In this example, program goal, they want to support at least 600 dropouts. So we know what the goal is. It all's got to do with dropouts. From Minnesota High School, the where? Minnesota High School. To do what? To attain high school diplomas or equivalent level of certification. Notice, a goal is specific, it's measurable, it's realistic, it's timely, and it gets the point across. Now, what's not in this goal right here, they don't talk about a time period. They should have started like this. Within the next 12 months, we plan to support at least 600 school dropout on down. But what this goal doesn't have is what we call time. It doesn't tell when you're going to do it. It tells the what, but it doesn't tell the when. Are you going to do it in 50 years, 20 years, 1 month, 2 months? But other than that, this is a good goal statement. You just have to put in there the timely manner within the next 12 months, 11 months, etc. Now, a goal is a broad statement of what you want to accomplish. Goals are general, intangible, and to be abstract. Let's continue on.
All right.
Okay. Each goal should have a performance measures, and we're going to talk about it when we get into evaluation. That's going to be later on. Okay, unfortunately, you can't see this because it's messed up, but let's skip this page. Okay, now let's talk about examples of goals. An example of a goal is decrease the degree of malnutrition among young children in the Southwest region of Baltimore. Now, what doesn't this goal have?
It don't have, let's say, decrease the degree of.
It doesn't have the time.
Remember, yeah, it doesn't have.
Yes.
It has a place. It has a thing, but it's in time.
Yes.
Read it.
You're going to see a lot of goals, of good goals, but they lack one element. When it's going to be. Yes, the time. Now, they should have said within the next 6 months, we plan to decrease the level of malnutrition, etc., etc. It tells us where they plan to do it. It tells us what they plan to do it. And it tells us how they plan to do it. But it doesn't tell us when they're going to do it.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, let's continue. Okay. Again, a goal is broad and future oriented statement. Okay, now also in your goals, it's important that you identify the specific target group that you want to provide the what information to. And you also talk about the how. For example, here's another goal. Let's look at this goal. The overall goal of this district program is to reduce the number of former ELO scoring level 2 on the ACAT and to increase their level of academic achievement over time. What don't they have?
It didn't give us a time either.
Yes. Yes.
But they put in general over time. That doesn't count?
No. Over what time? No, it's not.
Right.
Remember,
Okay.
it's got to be specific. That's one of the rules to a goal. It's got to be specific. It's not specific enough as it relates to time. You know, we got to know quantitatively, we got to know what time are you talking about. Over a period of time, it's not good enough because over a period of time, right, could be 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 60 years. You see my point?
Right.
We have to be specific. But you see, in all these goals we look at, other than that, they have good goals. They have a good structure.
Right.
But they don't have that important element. Okay, let's move on. So what have we talked about? We talked about the vision, which is the big picture, the mission, which is how we're going to get there in terms of the big picture, and then the goal. Now, in the goal, talk about what do we want the end result to look like. Now, the next part of critical thinking is what's known as strategies. And what is strategy? Well, a strategy is a plan of action, a method, a process, or a specific step taken to accomplish your goal. Now, a strategy talks about the big picture that you want to focus on. And it talks about the entire force as opposed to individual trees. Let's see what they're talking about. Now, here's some example of program strategies. Strategies always go from the goal. Okay, now this program strategy is to conduct high school equivalency. Now, what do you think the problem is immediately before we even talk about the strategy?
They're not talking about what high school?
No, but what's the problem though when you look at this strategy?
Equivalent?
Go next to the next sentence.
Okay.
Dropouts. See, that's the goal. The goal will probably be, let's go back to what the goal probably will be. The goal is to reduce the number of dropouts. Okay. And then when you go, you go to the objective. The objective is to when we go to the goal is to reduce the number of dropouts. And then you talk about the goal about to reduce the number of dropouts. Well, how do you plan to do it?
Right.
Then we come to the strategy. Now, how do they plan? What is that first part of that strategy? First of all, we know what the problem is dropout. We see immediately.
It's dropouts.
Yes. So their strategy is, how do they plan to deal with the problem? Well, they're going to conduct high school equivalency training to dropouts from the Minnesota school. Now, in a strategy, you don't have to talk about the time frame. However, your goal should.
Okay,
let's continue on, because the strategy is what? A strategy is just a work plan, how you plan to do it.
Right.
Look at strategy 2, provide free transportation to those involved in the program. Strategy 3, provide subsidized daycare to enrollees in the program. What they did when they did that problem statement, they found that a lot of people was dropping out of school. they found that even the ones that wanted to try to get into a program didn't have transportation. And they also found that those that wanted to get into school didn't have daycare. So then that strategy is to A, provide a place where they can get their high school diploma. Second, provide free transportation. And
Right.
third, to provide child care service. So
Right.
far,
So far, so good.
excellent. A program strategy is the mean or a broad approach by which you plan to take to bring about the goal.
All right.
So we'll talk about the vision, we'll talk about the mission, we'll talk about the goal, and now we're on the strategy. Okay, let's move to the next one. A strategy is a plan of action, a method, or a process, or specific steps taken to achieve a particular goal. Now, we'll talk about vision, mission, goal, and strategy. Now we come to the objective. The objective is the steps you plan to take to bring about the in-depth specific step to talk about how you plan to bring about the goal and the strategy. Let's talk about an objective. So let me see if I can hide this thing because it keep on coming in my way. Give me 1 second while I try to play with this. Okay. So an objective is actually the end result or the end product of what you plan to do. They are the tangible things. Let's talk about some types of objectives. Hold on 1 second, because I keep on clicking this thing and it keep on coming in my way. Give me 1 second while I play with this button.
Okay.
Oh, okay, there, I did it. Okay, now I'm on point now. Okay, so the objective, there's different types of objectives. It can be a behavioral objective in which you're trying to change somebody's behavior. In your case, that's what most of your focus is going to be changing on behavior. For example, way of life. Another goal, another type of objective is called a performance objective. This might be when you're working with people to get their GED and you're teaching them how to, to test this and everything like that, you're bringing up their proficiency. Another might be a process objective. And then a third one might be a tangible. So you see there's over 4 types of objectives, but in your case, yours is going to focus on a human action that you want to anticipate, meaning changing that person's way of life. Stop
right
to the system. So let's go back to the let's go back. Let's move forward and look at some more examples of objectives. Just like the goal, a strategy, just like the goal, a objective should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound.
All right.
Okay, what do we mean by specific? Well, it should talk about exactly what are you trying to do for whom. In your case, it's going to be specific. Our objective is to decrease the number of folks entering and back into the system, or in other words, reduce the level of incarceration, the level of, what's that term, everybody? I keep forgetting it. Recidivism, to reduce
recidivism.
Right. So that's going to be your specific objective. Okay, so that's how you would start off. And then once you got your specific objective, that's the who you want to help, then you have to measure it. How many? For example, you would say, we plan to assist 60 inmates or 60 returning citizens per month or per year.
Okay.
Got to make it measurable. Okay, once you make it measurable, you're specific, you're measurable, and it's got to be attainable.
Right.
What do you mean attainable? If we say, for example, we plan to assist 10,000 people in the next month, but you ain't got no staff, it's not attainable. So your objectives have to be realistic.
Right.
Okay, let's continue on. And then it has to be relevant. What do I mean by that? And then we're going to show some examples of objectives. What do I mean by that? It should be relevant. Well, you're saying you want to help people who are returning citizens and
Right.
make sure they don't come back into the system again. Yet your activities is helping little kids on how to ride a bike.
Okay.
So it's not relevant to what your goal and objective are. And you'll be surprised at people that got objectives, but when it goes to actually doing it, they're doing something totally different. Okay. And then time bound. Now, for example, let's give you an example. How long is your program going to be?
Always.
No, but one per group, how long is it going to be?
I want to give them 6 months to a year.
Well, there you go. That's what your time bound with 6 months to a year. So you always want to never say always, because you're always going to recycle of groups. For each group,
Right.
It's going to be 6 months to a year.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So why it's always, but you always want to specify the number, specifically how quick do you plan to help these people? So you say 6 months.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, now that make a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. What you're going to see as we move forward throughout the weeks, you're going to say, that guy Mike got something there. So one of the reasons why he thinks like he thinks, it's called critical thinking.
Right.
It's like it's a process. Okay, so we go back into the example of SMART objective. Let's look at an example. Now, listen to these people. By February the 15th of 2006, we want to increase by 4 the number of community health centers in the state that have incorporated into the clinic system electronic medical records with remainder of treatment protocol. The indicator is the number of community health centers. That's the indicator, because you also have to indicate how many people are you plan to do. But what's also in this objective right here?
They trying the clinical.
What's the element that's in here that wasn't in the other objectives?
They got a time frame.
They got a time frame. You see that popped out right there, right? By February the 15th, 2006. Okay, so you know this is going to be a good objective because they start off with the win by February the 6th, and then they begin to talk about what they're going to do.
Right.
They plan to help people related to the healthcare system. The problem is that there's a healthcare system that you have everybody doing their own thing. They want to create a healthcare system where everybody's talking the same language. So that's what they plan to do, especially when it comes to the electronic medical record system. Such that if you're in one office all the way in New York, you should be able to assess this system right here. Right now, the problem is that you can't assess all that information unless you ask those people to fact it to you. They want to create a system where so you can go online and it's electronic that you can get that person's health record. So that's their objective. Here's another one. By February the 15th, 2000 and no, they're talking about the same thing. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So objectives state the specific outcome that you expect to bring about. Now, objectives and goals are also the what, not the how. And they are smaller than the mission. Now, all this stuff I'm talking today is going to be foreign language, but as we proceed, all this stuff is going to fall in order. Okay, let's continue. And this just gives you an example of a SMART objective. It shows you the format you can use: the when, the by, the when, and that other stuff. I'm gonna send this to you as well.
Okay,
Okay, objectives break the goal down into smaller parts. That's all you need to know about that. Let's look at another objective. By June 30th, 26, provide training to 20 community health center administrators in the use of electronic records. See how they specific with their particular objective. They tell you specifically when, they
right.
tell you who, and they tell you why. Okay, let's move it on. So there's a couple of things you want to know about objectives. Objective can be short-term. For example, you talked about helping folks from 6 months to a year. Is that your timetable?
Yeah, 6 months to a year.
You would break it down. You would say short-term for the first 30 days, what you plan to do.
Okay,
And then you go into your immediate objectives from 30 to, let's say, 3 months. And then your long-term objective would be from 3 to 6 months. So even though it's 3 to 6 months, you always want to break it down.
okay,
Objective. For example, the short term might be just simply getting that person ID. You know, the immediate. Short term deals with the immediate. The short term might be helping that person to get a house.
okay,
And then the intermediate will be in to talk about the training and the help you're going to give that person and finally to long term, in which that person is actually transformed. So far, so good.
so far so good.
Here's a goal: improve control of high blood pressure in the state. That's the goal. How are you going to do it? Well, by December December the 30th, 2010, we're going to increase the baseline to 65% of hypertension patients at community health centers who have their blood pressure under control. So reading this, what do you think the problem is?
The blood pressure is high.
Yes, high blood pressure. That's the problem. This is the goal, but I'm going all the way back to the problem because you know the problem comes first. The problem is that that's high blood pressure. Now they tell me how they're going to solve it. First, they talk about the goal. Well, our goal is to reduce it or to improve it. But how are you going to do it? Well, we plan to do this by December the 30th.
Right.
And then they talk about the baseline reduced by 65% of those had their high blood pressure under control. The bottom line is that in order to get somebody to control their blood level, you have to be able to get them into the clinic. So that's what they're saying. Our objective is to get them from the streets into the clinic to get their high blood pressure medicine or get their blood medicine under control. So now you see a clear goal, and then you see the objective. And now they're talking about that intermediate step, but I'm not going to go through these intermediate steps. That's not important. I just want to emphasize that there's a short-term, medium, and long-term objective. Now, let's look at some examples of the whole thing. Remember, the goal,
the
strategy, the objective, and the activity. So let's look at this program goal right here. To reduce at-risk behavior associated with HIV infection among students within the school district. Notice they say who? School.
What school district?
HIV infection.
Right.
And what you want to do? Change the behavior. How are you going to do it? What is the first? It's the strategy. Remember, the strategy is the action plan. It's the approach you're going to take. Well, what they plan to do is to form a community partnership that advocates for HIV prevention education in school. The goal is then, once they establish the goal, the strategy, and the objective, Then the objective then is to, by February the 28th, 2009, to convene 4 meetings of new community partnerships related to HIV/AIDS. But how are you going to do this? That comes to the activity. Well, we're going to create criteria for identifying partnership members, recruit the members, and convene the meeting. So the goal is talking about what they want to do. The activities that come from it tell you specifically how we plan to do it. Well, first we want to do the recruitment, identify the members, and then we're going to have them. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Excellent. Now let's look at another one. Program strategy. Mama, the strategy, the approach that you plan to take. For example, your approach might be to partner with other nonprofits, to partner with Department of Corrections, so you can identify those people that's coming out. You also might want to partner with substance abuse program. You might want to partner with like Dress for Success, especially for females that's coming out the system. That's going to be your strategy. Okay, let's continue on. So the objective in this particular case is to, by February the 28th, conduct 2-day workshops. And then the activities that they got to do, even before they give the objective, well, they got to recruit the trainer. They got to design the workshop. They got to market the research, the workshop, and they got to implement the workshop. So in your case, when you come down to your activity, one of your activities is going to be to recruit people to your program.
Right.
Activity is to prepare the materials. Another might be the marketing. How people gonna know what you're doing unless you market it? And then you're gonna have to implement the workshops. Okay, let's continue. Oh, that's it.
Whoa, whoa.
Oh, whoa! What do I hope you take away from today's class? Well,
Today I learned that I have to know the SMART, the what, the when, the how.
good.
Everything has to have a time.
Good.
I just say I want to do this. I gotta say, by this time.
Good.
Yeah, I learned short term and long term.
Good.
That was very interesting.
Good. The other takeaway from today's class, and like I said, this is being recorded, so you're gonna get everything, is that we start with the vision.
The
From the vision, we move to the mission. From the mission, we move to the goal. From the goal, we move to the strategy. From the strategy, we move to the objective. So those are the big kind of things that I want you to think about as we move forward.
Okay.
Now, and that means that we're going to start to talk about what are your goals? What is your objective? What are your strategies? What are your activities? And then start to put it to paper. But first, we want to learn, like I said last week, terminology. We want to understand language. We want to understand concepts, process, and principles before we start to really go out there in the real world. Because once we understand process, concepts, language, then we're in a better position to tell the story.
All right.
I'm going to be sending this to you. Now, I done forgot what button I'm supposed to hit in order to bring this thing back up. Hold on 1 second. And tell you what's going on. The screen kept on popping up. And I asked it to remove the control panel so I can only have the screen. And now I can't get the control panel to come back.
You can't do ESC?
What is that?
That's on the keyboard. It's
they told you, and now to pay attention, they told me what button to hit. Let me see, it's an escape, it's a line, it's a shift, it's a control. Let me see. All right. Well, it doesn't make no difference. Class is ending anyway. Anyway, shut up. But anyway,
I love you, Mr. Michael.
but they call me the nutty professor, right?
That's all right though. You know your stuff now.
All right, and guess everything I know you want to know, right?
All right now.
So let me see how can I come out of this right here.
It's at the top of the keyboard. It say ESC.
Okay, here you go. Hold on. End show presents. So screen. Hold on 1 second. I'm looking at it now. Now, if I hit the wrong button and this goes out, you good. Is this me?
Okay.
I couldn't go out officially. Normally, the way you do it is you say, hey, bye, whatever. But I don't know if I'm gonna do it with this. So let me hit end show and I'll get this over to you. I hit it. Okay. Yeah, and I'll get this over to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so into the next class, which is next Sunday. When I email this to you, make sure you email it to your partner.
I did. I thought she was gonna be in on it because she came over yesterday, and we chopped it up. So
Yeah, but make sure you email
meditation. So I don't know.
Yeah, make sure you email the class presentation. So even if she missed a class, she's not missing the class.
Okay.
Always, that's why I'm gonna record every class, just in case. Okay, I'm going to see you then later. I'm just trying to find out how do I close out, so don't pay me no attention. Is this how I do it? Nope, not there. Hold on 1 second.
I think it's ESC.
It normally is, but they got a particular, hold on 1 second, I'll figure it out.
Is it on the view option?
I see, I can't see. If you see what I see, you can't see nothing because I hit the wrong button.
Uh-oh.
But let me do this. I'm going to come out of Zoom, but this is the end of the class, and I'll send you the information. So thank you for attending, and I'll see you next week.
All right, my love. Thank you.
You too. Stay strong. The best is yet to come, and have a good one.
Yay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.